Welcome back, y'all, and happy Monday. We have our first big scrimmage of 2025 coming up tonight. I think it starts at 7, maybe 7:30. Either way, the first scrimmage is always big because that depth chart will start to get formed. Okay, just start to get formed. It's not going to be done, but the coaches will start to see, hey, what players do we trust here? What players do we trust there? What can the players do that's maybe different from what we had at the same spots last season? But also, they'll understand, what different plays can we run? Where are we better at? Where are we worse at compared to last year? So, and that goes for offense, defense, special teams. So, this one is definitely big, and I have some questions that I want to touch on at each individual spot that we'll go through today. Please, as always, y'all make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. I also want to send a huge shout out to all the members of this channel. Y'all are doing a great job of keeping us going. You can also donate to this channel as little as $1 by scanning the Cash App QR code wherever that is. We would love for y'all to follow us on social media. Everything will be down in the description below. Thank y'all so much for all of the support. Let's go ahead and jump into it. All right, y'all, we're going to start with the quarterbacks. My biggest question here would be, is Nico connecting on his deep passes? Is he more accurate with that deep ball? Because last season, he wasn't as accurate. Now, he did have several drops from his wide receivers, but we got to find a way to connect on those, to hit on those on a much more consistent basis. He is deadly accurate with the intermediate stuff, with the short stuff, inside the pocket, on the run. And I also want to know, is he rolling out, more in this scrimmage? And I don't know that we will get those notes, but hopefully somebody's going to ask those types of questions. And then also, I would say for Merck, who's going to be Tennessee's backup quarterback in 2025, how does he look? I've noticed that with some of those wide screens, the passes are a little bit low. So, is he doing a better job with the ball placement there? And is he operating the offense at a high enough level that we would trust him to go in and to run the total offense in any situation? How does GMAC look as a true freshman? Those are my main questions for our quarterback room. Next is Tennessee's linebacker room. My biggest question here would be, is Jeremiah Telander starting to separate? We all know that Arion Carter, he's not practicing, but Arion Carter will be starting. Jeremiah Telander started next to him last season, and I think that he played well, but we've looked at some of these younger players and we said, well, maybe they're better athletes. Maybe they'll take the spot from JT, but I think that JT's not going to let that spot go. So I want to know, how does he look? I also want to know, how does Ben Bolton look out there in some live reps? Because he's a walk-on guy, but he's an older guy. He's looked really good so far, just going through all the drills and things like that. Edwin Spillman, whenever he got to play last season, I think that he looked really good. I think that he might add a little bit with the coverage element and things like that. Jordan Burns. I just want to see, how do these guys look, and will someone kind of step up and be that second linebacker right there next to Arion Carter? Will there start to be some separation? How do we look out in pass coverage and things like that? I would love to see one of the linebackers get an interception today, or coming up tonight. That would be huge for me. But yeah, that room is very deep. I actually listened to Braylon Staley talk with Austin Price yesterday. He kind of pointed to Tennessee's linebacker room too. So it's good to know that the players look at the room and say, hey, this room is really deep. It's going to be really good, just like we are. So I think that those are all very positive signs for it. All right, next is the running back room. I don't have too many questions here. If I had, probably really one, it would just be, how does who's going out there first? Who's going out there second? That's kind of what I would like to see. Is there any real separation here? But I think we've got several really good backs. I also want to know, do they look good catching the football? Do they look good in pass pro? That's probably going to be one of the things that separates, I would say all of these guys, right? Especially talking about some of those younger players. I think that Morris, he's looked good so far. I think that Justin Baker, he's also looked really good. And then those vets, along with Star Thomas, to me, they've all looked perfectly fine. So I think that we'll be okay here. I just would love to know who's out there with the ones, who's out there with the twos, and so on and so forth. And will they all kind of get a little bit of reps to run with the ones? That, to me, would probably be really, really beneficial for that room. Next is Tennessee's tackle room. And as y'all can see, there's several veterans that won't be going tonight. So Wallace won't be going. Devin Hobbs hasn't practiced all of spring. Nathan Robinson. Would love to see those guys, but what it means is that the freshmen, the underclassmen, they get a really big opportunity to step up and get some real reps versus some of the, first string, second string. So how does Campbell look? How does Utley look? I think that they'll probably end up looking fine. But, we have to see it in these live situations. If they both look good, then I think Tennessee's in a very good spot here. I also want to know, is Don Bailey playing more at tackle, or is he playing more at strong side end? That would also kind of like paint a picture to let us know how the coaches feel about the depth inside of this room. So hopefully everything goes well, right? And those freshmen show up and all of that, because if that happens and Tennessee doesn't have to go to the transfer portal, it doesn't mean that we won't still do it, but you'd rather just do it as a luxury than obviously doing it out of, hey, we need to go target this spot. So I'm looking forward to hearing about this tackle room for sure. All right, next let's talk about Tennessee's tight end room. Obviously, with Miles Kisman being down, everyone's looking at Ethan Davis. We all know that he can run the routes, catch the passes, all that good stuff. but can he block? Will he be physical on a consistent basis? That is huge. It's probably one of the most important things that I want to learn from the scrimmage coming up tonight. But I also feel like looking at guys like Cole, right? So Cole, he's been in like a yellow limited contact jersey, I guess. I'm not sure if he's going to get to go tonight because I'm sure it's going to be full speed. So if he can't go, then those two freshmen, Jack and also Brain, they're going to get a whole lot of reps. So how do they look? Are they holding up physically? Or do they understand what to do, where to be? So this is one, hopefully we get some pretty, solid notes on this to see exactly how do they look. But I think that we should be fine because it sounds like Miles might be back a little bit sooner, maybe close to like the start of the season. So it's just going to be good for these guys to get those extra reps in. Next is Tennessee Star Room. This is another one that I'm going to be watching very, very closely. Obviously, Boo Carter will be getting the start right there, but how many people do we have behind Boo? I think that Coach Martinez said that they're looking for 2 to 3 guys. I would say that you really want to find, 3 to 4 if you can. I mean, even if it's guys that would be starting off at like corner or at safety, just knowing that you've got some players that can play star if we get into any sort of a situation. And obviously, we have to watch those freshmen very closely because for me, it feels like either Trey or Dylan Lewis. It feels like those two guys might be the ones to back up Boo at this point. But does anyone else step up? You know what I'm saying? So we will see. They have to hold up not just from a coverage perspective, which I think that they'll both be fine there, but they have to know what to do. It sounds like the star is a spot that, they're kind of, the quarterback of the defense. So they have to know a lot of things, but they also have to hold up physically because star is a position that you're going to be pretty much playing inside the box. Okay. So we will see how they hold up, but that will also tell us a lot about what Tennessee wants to do inside of that transfer portal coming up. Next is the offensive tackle room. This is another really big one. We know that on the left side, Lance Hurd will get that start. I think that he's looked better. I mean, he looks really good to me. I think he's going to have a very, very big year. I'm happy to hear that he's wanting to know what the entire offense does. And I had to kind of say this too, just because I'm kind of like thrown off that they didn't know what the drop was. Like they didn't know, hey, this is going to be like a 3-step drop. This is a 5-step drop. That's crazy to me because offensive linemen need to know that because you need to know, hey, do I need to get this guy's hands down, on this play? So that's something that we definitely need to get that cleaned up. But I'm glad that that question was asked. So now the entire room should know what the heck's going on. So that's a great job for me by Lance Hurd. But I think that behind him, probably going to end up being Bennett Warren, but him and Trevor Duncan, I mean, I'm telling you, Trevor Duncan looks really good too. So who's going to win it out right there? But on that right side, that's where the real battle is. That's where my real questions are. Who comes out to start? Is it Larry Johnson? I think that it probably will be just to start in this scrimmage. But how many first team reps is David Sanders going to get? Because for like the past, it sounds like, like the past few days, he's been running with those 3s. So will we see Brian Grant still working with those 2s? Or are they going to try to, move David Sanders up to get him some real competition? Those types of things are going to be really big for us to learn coming out of this because it will, again, give us a very good idea of, what the starting lineup could be for our Tennessee Volunteers in 2025. All right, next is Tennessee's strong side DNs. And my biggest question here would be who's going to be like number 3? Because I feel like both of the Tyrees are probably going to be like 1 and 2. But then also, if Don Bailey's not playing as much tackle, then he's going to be either 1 or 2. So who's going to be 3 or 4, I guess I should say, because Kellen Lindstrom, who's a 4-star coming out of high school, I think that he does a whole lot of nice things. But then also Carson Gentle, he's looking good too. One of my other questions that we will get to here in just a minute is, will Kellen Lindstrom get the opportunity to run some at Leo, just because the Leo room is pretty short-handed? So I think that those will be some, pretty interesting things to find out from the insiders coming up after this scrimmage tonight. Next is Tennessee's guard room. I don't really have too many questions here because I'm sure that it's going to be Wendell Moore starting at left guard, Sham Umarov backing him up, and then we're going to have Sam Pendleton starting at right guard and Jesse Perry backing him up. So I don't really have I don't have too many questions about how does the depth chart look or how is it going to look when the season starts off. But I do want to know, do we look better? Do we look deeper at that spot than we did last season? And also, I'm going to just kind of throw this out here because Jesse Perry, he's looked really good so far. Does Jesse Perry look good enough that the staff says, listen, we got to play him, like he's got to start? So maybe he will get the start at right guard. Then that would move Sam Pendleton over to center. Maybe the staff says, hey, this is going to be our best starting lineup. But yeah, I'm interested to see, will they hold up? Do they look dominant and all those good things? All right, Leo room. This one's going to be very interesting because as y'all can see, there's only 2 players that are healthy. And I definitely want to know, how does Jordan Ross look? Does he look dominant? Because I think that he could be James Pierce 2.0. Has that light kind of flicked on for him? Is he flashing? That would be big to know. But also because we only have two people here, we're gonna have to bring somebody, either from linebacker or I think from strong side in and cross train him. Is why I kind of talked about Kellen Lindstrom maybe being a guy who could move over. And for me, it would make a little bit of sense because it feels like he struggled to gain that weight. We want our strong side ends playing up over at least 250, and our Leos are typically playing at about 240, 245, maybe 250 at the most. So is he the type of athlete that can handle it? I think that we might figure that out tonight. But yeah, that one's going to be interesting. We definitely, because obviously adding Kellen Lindstrom to this room, having him be a guy that can play both sides, that's adding depth. That's a very, very positive thing. So outside of that, I'm very curious to see, how the reps going to get kind of like divvied up just between these two players. Obviously, like what I said, should be more. But how many more, and what are they going to do to keep these guys from having too many reps out there? Next is Tennessee's wide receiver room. This is another one that we have to watch very closely. I feel great about Mike Matthews. I feel great about Braylon Staley. But who's going to be that third starter? Because I'm starting to kind of feel like Brazel versus Travis Smith and maybe even Ra Jackson. That could be a very serious competition. So does Brazel come out and show some more consistency? Is he catching the ball on a consistent basis? Is he making plays? You know what I'm saying? All of that type of stuff. But I feel great about those freshmen because we've heard a whole lot of things about them, right? It sounds like they've been flashing almost every day. But will they do it again in this situation? I have a feeling that they'll probably, they might end up stealing the freaking show. But outside of that, man, I would also like to know, how do some of these walk-on players look? Do we feel comfortable enough with the walk-ons that we don't need to go to the transfer portal? I think that the transfer portal is almost a slam dunk guaranteed for our wide receivers. I feel like we need to go add somebody, one more player just for some, added depth and things like that, because you never know what is going to happen. And I also want to know, okay, I want to know, are they making people miss after the catch? That would tell us a lot about how our secondary looks, but it would also tell us a lot about, do we have some guys that will make plays, that will just take that 5, 6, 7 yard hitch and go 15, 20 yards. We need a lot more of that. That would help this entire offense out. So we'll see. For sure, this is one that I'm watching very, very closely. And that brings us to our cornerbacks room. We already know that Ricky Gibson and Jermod McCoy will end up being the starters once Jermod gets back. But for right now, it's going to be Ricky Gibson and J-Mac. So who's the cornerbacks behind those guys? Can we find 5 cornerbacks that we trust? I would love to find 6, maybe even 7. I think that we've got some good bodies here. Marcus Gorey, he's a name that P and I kind of talked about. Maybe he's stepping up here. Maybe that's why he wasn't mentioned as much with our stars. I still kind of feel like Caleb Beasley, who it feels like he's playing more at safety. I think that he could still play cornerback for us. He actually has looked a little bit better, as a corner this spring. But who else is going to step up, right? Do any of the freshmen wow you? You know what I'm saying? Are they out there making plays? Or is this a spot that Tennessee is going to have to go out to that transfer portal and add a body? I'm leaning towards, again, we don't get to see that many clips, but I'm kind of leaning towards Tennessee might want to go and add one more secondary piece just to be safe. Next is Tennessee's center room. I do feel like William Satterwhite will be our starter whenever the season starts off. But like we said, there could be a situation where, man, J.C. Perry is just so good that we have to see him on the field. And maybe they bump Sam Pendleton over to start over William Satterwhite. But I think that the coaching staff has a ton of confidence with him. But I want to know, how does some of the backups look? It sounds like Max Anderson has looked good. It sounds like Gus Hill, sounds like he's been playing well too. Can Gus Hill be a guy for us? That's probably my biggest question about the center spot. But outside of that, man, I think that we're in a really, really good spot there. All right, y'all, last is our safety room. Andre Turntime will probably be one of the starters. Feel good there. Obviously want to know, how does he look? But who's going to be the starter next to him? Kobe Thomas, he's looked good, but I also think that Caleb Beasley is looking really good. Caleb Beasley might give you a little bit more as far as man-to-man coverage goes over a Kobe Thomas. But, we'll see how all those things look. Really, for me, I would say biggest question is, how do the groups look? Who's the first group? Who's the second group? Who's the third group? So on and so forth. Will we see John Slaughter get to run with the one some, right? I think that Idris Farouk, he's another one that he could do a whole lot of really good things for you. So this is a room with, I think, plenty of talent, but we need to know who's going to step up. Will we start to see some separation as far as who's going to be starting next to Andre Turntime? All right, so that's it for my thoughts on the individual players, but as a team, definitely want to know, how does the offensive scheme look? Are we running pistol? Are we running more tight sets? Will we see some jet motions? Are we throwing the football to the running backs coming out of the backfield? All that type of stuff. Are we going to see some more crossing routes, some shallow routes? And, I'm hoping, right, because we're not going to be able to actually watch this, but I'm hoping that the insiders will take some very detailed notes on either what they see if they get to go to the scrimmage, or on what they hear from the coaches and all of that type of stuff. So also on defense, I want to know, are we dialing up different things, right? Like, are there going to be some different blitz packages, especially with Tennessee's cornerbacks, which I mean, to start the season off, you might not want to blitz the cornerbacks as much, or hey, you might want to, because we didn't blitz cornerbacks that much last season. And in these scrimmage situations, Coach Hype says, look, everything's on the table. Okay. Y'all can blitz and all of that. So I want to see, do we mix up some of the blitz packages? Are there different coverages and things like that? I don't know that we're going to be doing special teams, but if we do special teams, how does that look? Because obviously, that's a totally different, staff there, right? Like we've got a couple new people in that's working on special teams. So it should be a whole lot of very good notes. And I think that we'll probably get that maybe tonight, but mostly it's going to be tomorrow. So we'll probably come back with how the actual scrimmage looked and see, do we get the answers to all these questions? But those are my thoughts. Please share yours with me down in the comment section. And as always, please do make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.